Dear friends, I'm glad to see you all on Feygin Live. It is Wednesday, 22nd of June, 1 minute past 10, and we're doing another stream, day 119, with Olexiy Arestovych. Glad to see you. Good evening, everybody. All right, as usual, we have about 90,000 people watching us live. I have a request. Please share the links to that cast in your social media and send in messengers and by email. Use other means if you're watching that in Russia or doing that in Russia, because some providers are stifling our casts, and not surprising, this is Russia. And look for other ways to help us promote it. That helps us a lot. Subscribe to both of our channels and subscribe to the privateer station. By the way, another interesting notion that if you leave a like for that video, those which you leave at the end of the show weigh a bit more. So if you can do it twice, like at the beginning, like at the end again, re-like it again at the end. That helps to promote the show better. Subscribe to Feygin Live. We're almost at 1.5 million. Olexiy Arestovych, about the same amount of people. Again, if you're watching that in English, do not forget to subscribe to the privateer station. Seems like it's a busy day, right, Olexiy? Let's start with the map and what's going on there. Everybody heard your comments about the situation near Severodonetsk and Lysychansk. So let's start from them, or you decide where do we start. We can start with them. All right, let's start where it's difficult. General situation is understandable. Russian command threw 5 or 6 battalion tactical groups, which joined the fight. Wait, are these the groups that did not go to Kharkov? Oh, these are... No, these are different ones. The ones in Kharkov, they're still there. And there is a different movement there. Let's go traditionally. Let's start with... So that's what's happening. They're going to New Lozovaya and Rubezhnaya. If you look at Kharkov area, they're basically trying to preclude our troops from cutting the supply of Izum group. And they added a little more forces, and they got some territories to the west from Oktyabrska near Slatina. So Kharkov is again frontline city. The amount of shellings and hits confirms that. Today is a result of they're shelling one of the villages of Kharkov region. It's closer to Izum, but it's still Kharkov territory, Kharkov region. 5 women were killed by one mine from a mortar. They were just standing in front of the door to the house, and all of them died. So it's usual. Russian army continuing to do the terror to distract our forces from the south. So regarding the offensive near Slavyansk and Izum, same attempts to push and try to find weak spots. Barvinkovo, Raigorodok, Bogorodichne pretend that there is some activity there, but they don't really go far or cannot. Of course, main activity is near Severodonetsk and Gorska and Zolotoye, the ones that are almost surrounded but can't. Zolotoye and Gorska, they're still trying to capture. You can see there's a little bottleneck over Zolotoye, and then another one over Gorskaya. That's at the 5 o'clock of this map, near that protrusion. It does not really work for them there, and it will not work for them, because our command indeed takes some measures, and yeah, they'll fail. But the threat was real, very serious. Probably was a question of day or two was very sharp. Will they succeed or not? But they failed. They also show some activity near Voronova, and they're sending small groups to try to advance near Sirotina, to the south of connector Lysychansk-Severodonetsk. Of course, their main goal is to find our supply lines between these in these areas between these cities, so they're trying to get to cut it. And they're trying to also push Popasny area, not only to the road Bakhmut-Lysychansk, but also towards Bakhmut itself. You can see by the red arrows delineating that big red area on the 6 o'clock. So it's characteristic by three things. First, they're trying to encircle. Second, they're working with very small forces, very small groups. I'm constantly online with our defenders in that area, and they're reporting that Russians would have 2 tanks, 3 armored vehicles, maybe 30 people. This all shows a very characteristic feature. Both sides are tired, seriously tired. They're worn out, because a month ago, 5 battle tactical groups attacking on the area from Bakhmut to Lysychansk, there was a working norm, a daily norm, so people were even saying, that's not even impressive. These times it's half a platoon, definitely or half a regiment, and they get to some points and then they get kicked and move back. Both sides are tired because, first of all, that's what they move with small groups, and the second, that they can actually move with these groups a little bit, that tells you that our side is tired too. Another thing that can also be called like an exotic suicide attempt or a military joke, when they at least once registered that high quality, supposed to be top of the line airborne assault troopers were reinforced with troops from Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics, unprofessionals, the ones who were forcibly conscribed from the streets. Why is it bad to mix them? Well, let's at least address it on the political side. Military, that's a whole other rabbit hole. Politically, they're neglecting the existence of those People Republics, and they're basically joining them with Russian troops. So that essentially tells everybody that these republics are just puppets. They're not real. Oh, yeah, they don't care. Well, maybe they don't care, but they indeed opened the embassies in those countries for a show. And then with these actions, they completely cancel all of these previous spectacles that they provided for people. So on the military side, they're very differently prepared. Airborne guys, they're prepared to fight one way. These guys are not prepared at all. So a mix like that, it's not even a mistake. It's the last thing you can do. That's a grave mistake in the military practice. That tells that their deficit of personnel is dire, because any commander would do anything to avoid doing mistakes like that. And also that they're doing it in small groups. It shows that the battle for Lysychansk and Severodonetsk, let me use some delicate phrase here. First of all, it's in its culmination, and it's horrible, as horrible as round 18 of a boxing fight. It's horrible from the point of view of technology and methods. It looks like if to cancel out the actual people dying and the horror of that, it would look like 2 boxers who are hugging each other and kind of barely walking on the floor by round 18. So one side, it's funny that their groups are so small. Second is not so funny that we actually cannot destroy them immediately. It takes us an effort to destroy them as well. So the sad news is that they do have some reserves, small, but they do. And sad news for them is that we have reserves as well. And the most critical element for them is that mother of all battles of Russia for Ukraine territory that started in April and lasts for over several months already. It got finally to the point where two armored personnel carriers with 30 soldiers are trying to reach something and capture something. Any country, any side that deploys two divisions of artillery will win that battle. Who has it? Well, only military command on both sides knows who has it. But the main thing is they've grinded down. Remember, Mark, how it started? The group near Severodonetsk, Lysychansk, Popasna, there were about 40-45 battalion tactical groups. Yeah. Now, totally, if they have maybe 40 armored vehicles on that whole front and maybe 400 people who can pretend they're doing offensive maneuvers, they pretty much killed most of their operative reserve at Lysychansk and Severodonetsk. Can it be tracked by any data? It's difficult to count. It's difficult to count, especially with the way Russians are providing material, the data. But by observations of how they're attacking, it would indicate they have probably about 40% left of the initial amount of troops, and refitting them with freshly conscripted people from the street, especially refitting the elite troops with that. That means that Ukrainian military command already achieved the task that we were putting on that fortified region to wear them out. Mark the cost of that achievement. Let's go to the south. Near Ugledar, Russian tweeters and networks are screaming. They got a problem that Ukrainians are advancing. They captured 2 villages and Ukrainian artillery is shelling that they cannot even move around. Something needs to be done about it. Let's follow the front a bit more to the west. And the Russian publics are screaming that Ukrainians are pushing towards Melitopol. They're by another 10 kilometers. Is it just public networks in Russia, or is that real? Well, our command is not disclosing details, but their military correspondents and their public forums are screaming about it, that it's real bad. Let's move further to the west. What do we see in Kherson? Over there, Ukrainians are moving again. Those damn Ukrainians are shelling us Russians with artillery, exploding the ammo depots, and that's what they're writing in their publics. Wait, so today there was a news that diversion groups got to the borders outskirts of the city? Well, that has not been confirmed yet. Hard to approve or disprove that. But behind that tactic, one cannot see the forest. The forest looks like this. 3 weeks ago, Russian army tried to advance near Kherson, was preparing a storm of Zaporozhye, and was going from Ugledar to cut us off in the back near Marinka. And they were trying to capture Lysychansk, Severodonetsk, and they were retreating from Kharkov. It appears that they only had one spot where they were retreating, and everywhere else they were either advancing or preparing their next advance. Several weeks later, what do we see? Kherson, Zaporozhye, Ugledar. The Ukrainians are advancing or doing offensive maneuvers. They only have Kharkov, Severodonetsk, Lysychansk, and Izium. How is that? How that can be? It's about 50-50 now. What can be told to Vladimir Vladimirovich? If I was him, I'd have called his generals and asked, how does that work when the Second Army of the World got reserves, took off some equipment from storage, and now they're trying to advance and nothing works. And if you also add the picture on the sea, what happened on the Snake Island and what happened with the gas and oil rigs, Oh, and also in Rostov, on Russian territory, I heard there was a fire, the gas refine and oil refinery. So was there a hit? No, they just smoked in the wrong place again. Oh, they've been smoking Turkish cigarettes and Turkish lighters in the wrong place. Yeah, I think so. And the management should have made conclusions and prohibit smoking in wrong places if they do care about their interests. Do you know any details about them? They've been saying that the fire was only 50 square meters, close to 50 square yards. So me and people were thinking 50 square meters, that's about two rooms, two mid-sized rooms. Mark, if you watch the video, you may want to multiply that number by 100. And that's what we're talking about. Because it looks like those people who were smoking in the wrong place. Yeah, they were smoking somewhere near the pipe connecting, what I understand, it seems to me, the place, the pipe connecting the refinery with the storage. So the trouble is with the pipe, with the storage place, and with the refinery. Even though refinery usually pushes it out with the pressure, so at least the storage. So, Vladimir Vladimirovich, Mr. Putin, if you're watching us, ask your generals and ask what the F is going on. Because the overall weight seem to be leaning towards Ukraine. And Lend-Lease is not even here. We're not even getting the advanced weapons yet. By the way, Lithuania cut the automobile transitions to Kaliningrad. And we got some panzers, but just very few. So what's happening? You're advancing only in 3 places, and we're advancing at least in the same amount of places on the front. So what's up? Or maybe your generals are deceiving you and telling you that the fleet on the Black Sea was doing an inverted mission? Or they're staying invertedly afloat? So I hope they realize what's going on, because this war of Putin's regime against Ukraine was also sold as the tool to show how weak NATO is, that they're incapable of defending their members and other countries. And it turns out things are very different right now. They're looking substantially different, and it is the other country that is incapacitated even at their own territory. You don't even say. So without Putin, there is 354,000 people watching us. Oh, so with Putin it would be 354 plus 1? Yep, that'll be plus 1. So with him or without him, please share links. Share them on your social media and other networks. Leave your likes. Over 100,000 already did it. Please do it as well. Help us promote this material. Subscribe to Feygin Live, to Olexiy Arestovych, and to the Privateer Station. We're live for about 19 minutes. Let's talk about Kherson. They're saying that a vehicle belonging to Congressman Kovalov blew up. He was a collaborant who went there in April and said that Russia came there for a long term. We don't know if he's alive or not, but his car is definitely exploded. Yeah, the car exploded. We're still clarifying details. Is he alive or not? We're still clarifying details, Mark. Well, I don't know. Maybe you do know that he is dead. If I did, I would have told you, but no. We're clarifying details. Speaking of collaborants, yesterday, Ukraine Security Service captured a Russian spy on the level of the cabinet of ministers. So yeah, they do have agents on our side. And that Semiraus, or what's his last name, will he be executed or not? I don't know about Putin, but this guy is watching us for sure. Mark, we do not liquidate anyone. No. They smoke in the wrong place? No. I think these guys die mostly because of conscious issues. Their consciousness is really bothering them because they betrayed their country, betrayed their people, and then they basically die of a broken heart, or smoke in the wrong place and die of a broken heart. So tomorrow there'll be a European Union meeting where the question of candidacy of Ukraine will be finally resolved. It appears it is resolved, it is done, that information was publicly voiced. There is a summit of NATO in Madrid happening soon. Tell me, after getting candidacy in European Union, does it make sense to force the process and join NATO? Hang on, Mark. Let's address skepsis at first. First of all, I'm not skeptical about Ukraine going to NATO. I'm skeptical about NATO readiness to accept Ukraine. Well, you know, they were skeptical about European Union as well. Yes, let's proceed. Practically majority of European Union countries, they are members of NATO. The status of candidate to European Union is not nothing. It is access to programs of European Union and to some of the European Union funds and resources. According to the experts I talked to, that most of their roads and some other infrastructure elements, Poland built when they were in a status of a candidate. They got access and support to revamp their infrastructure, and they used it. So this is not just a political statement. Also, it is a matter of security, of course. And we did another thing. I saw that you listened about the project of 3 Cs a few days ago. There are 12 countries in this project. This project allows access to money and security and safety infrastructure between those 12 countries, which all of them are part of European Union. So basically half of EU is that. It means that our country has joined the infrastructure of Europe way deeper than it is officially acknowledged for now. Also, one needs to understand that we are the members of NATO de facto. That's not enough, though. You need a 5th chapter, right? 5th article. Oh, I'm sending you a big hello from our Minister of Defense, Olexiy. When I talked to him today, he said, tell Mark and our viewers that in Ramstein, the following things were said. There were a lot of things said, but there are a couple very important ones. We never, never, never will leave Ukraine, regardless of how long it will take us, and we'll do everything so that it wins. It actually was, no, it was exactly stated, will lead it to victory. Ministers of defense of about 50 countries, an overwhelming majority whom he had a chance to talk to, that they are working to support Ukraine to defeat Russia in Ukrainian war. And the cherry on top of that cake was placed by Minister of Defense of the United States, Lloyd Austin. There should be no qualms. This matter should be closed once and for all. That will lead Ukraine to their victory. Yes, there are problems with military equipment because some of it needs to be produced. It's not 80s, the 20th century when they had a ton of weaponry. Like Bundeswehr back then had 26 brigades, now only have 6. Same thing in Britain and other places. So the program of sequestration cut across the board most countries. But it just takes more time to ramp them up, these programs, to start the production, deliver the articles, train military personnel, figure out the interaction and logistics. But they did state very straightforwardly that this subject is closed. The subject of our support, we will continue, and we will complete our intent to supply you with the equipment we promised. So that means that, yes, Ukraine will win. And I think some good news are awaiting us in a rather short term. And then it gets a little better, and by autumn it should be really good. These news, do you think, will touch the membership or the candidate member to NATO? So Reznik already at the meeting said that de facto we are a part of NATO and we are your eastern flank, and they agreed with that. In a way, especially on this stage, it is more important than an official acknowledgement. And second, that's from open sources, not from Reznik. They agreed with Turkey, and Finland and Sweden will be accepted to NATO in the shortest possible term. And today the Minister of Defense of Finland said that there'll be, if Russia decides to invade Finland, Finland will have enough resources to fight Russia the same way Ukraine does. Up to a recent term, Finns were very careful and they were choosing the language not to stir Putin's regime. So that statement means, let me formulate it better. It means a very principal thing, that they're being accepted without the membership trial. That trial is not important in this case. Well, I understand, and maybe Ukraine is not even talking about that, but maybe give Ukraine a membership, candidacy, and then after trial accept them. Mark, we are talking about getting Ukraine into NATO. So candidacy and trials, I think we're going through them by fire right now. But also membership in that three Seas organization, this is a qualitative jump. And NATO in one way or another is just behind that hill, not too far. And we can make a formula softer, but if not even a member of NATO right now, we're the closest serious ally that is conducting war with the help of NATO and allies, with a country that is acknowledged to be the strategic enemy of NATO. We discussed that, yeah, this is unavoidable. Mark, this is tectonic change in this war. And if you compare that with that threesome of European leaders who got here to talk about peace, maybe delayed further out after the war, and left us with statements of full support of Ukraine joining European Union and full military support of Ukraine till its victory, then we can say that this war basically just had another strategic break in it, strategic point. Well, yeah, we won our Kursk, Duga, but there was one milestone, even if they take Severodonetsk, you lost Severodonetsk, you got to Kherson, so not a big deal. Right, but on the political level, this is a huge milestone. This is a tectonic milestone in the political sphere. I'm sorry. If to measure by tools of the Second World War of the Eastern Front, we won the battle for Kursk and also the battle for Africa to a degree, if you take the Western Front. These are really good news. Personally, I did not think about it this way. I was mostly deeper involved with tactical and operational level, but now with you talking about it, I'm taking a couple of steps back and realizing that indeed the last week brought a few really big milestones to this war. All right, almost 30 minutes. I got 490,000 people watching us. By the way, Alexander Guinness mentioned you in his Radio Freedom cast, and he mentioned the consideration that you brought to the table, that it is a change of Ukraine people from the victim into the victor on this war, which is also reflected in the victories you guys achieve right now. All right, Going to Lithuania and their decision about blocking some of the Russian cargo, how do you gauge that position? And what do you think about Kaliningrad as the Russian enclave, remote and disconnected from mainland Russia? What do you think Russia will respond with? First of all, they unlikely will use military force. First of all, because they don't have much left. Second, Lithuania is a NATO country. And they said a lot of words about Finland and Sweden, but nothing happened. So blocking the ports in Klaipėda by military ships of Russian Navy, do you think it's possible? No, this is not serious. Because immediately there'll be a reaction of NATO to think they'll sink some of the Russian ships. They don't need to. There are other measures that can be implemented in a bit different manner. Because in Moscow they are discussing it. They want to block Port Klaipėda. I dare them. I dare them to try to do that. What can happen? What can happen if they do that? That actually falls under the act of aggression. They would still do that. Well, that's what they're doing in Black Sea, right? Yeah, that is a good call to action for NATO then, because Klaipėda is a NATO port. Let's see. I think these idiots in Kremlin need to finally come to reality that nobody is afraid of them. Olexiy, they're idiots for a reason, because they don't get it. Well, we're trying to explain it to them. On the example of those refineries on the Snake Island and the oil platform. If they're so rough with their actions, there could be a different method to address it. It would be interesting to see how they try to open the second front, especially in the fact that Sweden is joining NATO and essentially locking that sea, the Baltic Sea, into turning it into a locked sea, so Russian military ships would always be surveyed. So, what happens if they block Klaipėda? Well, just immediate result out of this, not even going too far. If they block Klaipėda, NATO blocks Kaliningrad. And immediate reaction in return. You unblock Klaipėda, we unblock Kaliningrad. What will they do? Sink NATO ships or fly their jets around NATO ships? The jets will likely be shot. They flew that in, I believe, Syria around Turks, and they got their jet shot down. You know, there's nothing to be afraid there. I know for a fact that NATO is not scared of them. And frankly, many people are already giddy with an opportunity to put Putin's regime back in its place. And it likely will be very symmetrical. If things will happen on the Baltic Sea, something may happen in Mediterranean or Syria or other places. If one cannot understand it through his feet, perhaps he'll get it through his liver or other body parts. And if they start fighting with NATO, that'll be pretty amazing for Ukrainian front. You know what Reznikov says? His cheers when they toast to a drink. So the one that was really appreciated by everybody was Russian fleet to the bottom. And you know what? I'll try to explain you their logic. The thing is, being tough doesn't work, pretending to be tough doesn't work more than once. If they pretended to be tough once and did not do anything, they're not tough. They threatened Finland and Sweden, did nothing. If now they'll threaten Lithuania, it will not work to a degree that it'll actually backfire on Russia. And then these people will not be invited anywhere at all. Remembering another saying, they're not being taken to fish together. Yep, and that's remembering Honegin, who he's kind of unofficial face in his country, but he did call he's an ex-advisor of Merkel, right? But he called Putin's regime a clown, a band of clowns. So you think they'll not block it? Oh no, I would love to see them trying to block Klaipeda. Popcorn and a cup of coffee. I'd love to watch it. Vladimir Vladimirovich will likely be emptying his bowels without any joy into his briefcase today after your statements. McFall's commission says that Britain froze more for of Russian assets, over 2 billion assets, and financial assets of individual Russian citizens. Before that, Yermak was talking to the commission from Ireland, so that the Ireland that blocked it. And Irish Parliament voted on it. And here is the reaction. So the commission works. Any news on the 7th set of sanctions that I think is being discussed? And gas embargo, natural gas. We haven't seen big decisions on personas, on first-tier personas of Putin's government. These things, doesn't happen fast. But there's a nuance. Today in Europe, and not just today, there was a wave of warnings that the next spring or next winter will be difficult. And especially Germany and French are letting people know. So Germany did two things. In the last 20 years, Social Democrats destroyed their military. Yeah, they were cutting the number of them, buying tanks, but not buying tank parts. And now it's kind of inconvenient truth for them to agree that they were killing their own army for 20 years. And the threat is real. And second, Germany, when they refused nuclear energy, they got 50% of their industry dependent on the Russian gas. Chemical industry, to name, world-known chemical industry. And it's very difficult to revive that. A lot of these companies, if they're stopped for the lack of electricity, so they need to continue working. So Germany is standing with a very difficult choice. Yet they, to their bravery, they're saying that they insist to stop using Kremlin gas, because otherwise Kremlin is using it as a political weapon. Second, Russia did cut Germany off to a degree. So Germany is an interesting story. Case study, how people trying to be independent became dependent upon something else. And the second case study is that they're trying to leave that current situation behind by making very determinate steps. And Scholz lost a few districts in the recent elections, and he needs to make very serious decisions. And Germany is facing a very serious milestone in their historic development. But looking at Germans, what they're talking about, I start to respect them more. Because right now, having all the risks, they're going through that trial with dignity, and that is how their public discussion looks like. And that's what happens if Germany, and they're the key to solving that situation in Europe, because Putin tried to weaken Germany. So if Germany passes through this trial and tribulation successfully, and I think they are, it looks they are, judging by the way the subject is discussed, then this lever that Putin used to weaken Europe will break. Putin will have nothing to affect Europe with. Yeah, there is France and Italy, but Germany is still the biggest part of it. And I'm following Germans very in high detail. And here the discussion of the 7th set of sanctions will be a key set. And that's difficult to switch to a different energy source. Yes, it is. And Russia, in fact, is bringing down their supplies to Germany. Yep, they already dwindled down their supply line, and they're idiots. They're essentially forcing Germany to adopt new strategy soonest. And but come winter, Europeans will get a horrible lesson of what does it mean to depend upon Russian gas, Russian energy, and they'll realize that Russia cannot use gas in a different way under Putin's regime. It always is and was a method for achieving its goals. And I think Putin's calculation that maybe Germans will say, oh, Ukrainians are bad, let's restore relations with Russia and get our gas, it, I think, will backfire in a way that Germans will come out and say, no, Putin is a serious threat. And it appears that that's where the public discourse is going. I think I would take my hat off. At least they're starting to look at this problem. At 50% of industry is a very serious threat. But, they'll have to go to the previous source of energy, because alternative never compensate for that. But nuclear energy is not a single-day solution. It takes time to ramp those plants up. But I like how they're approaching it. They were very logical in gauging that situation, and they're showing the readiness to this problem. So that's the story. All right, we have almost 430,000 people watching us. Over 150,000 left their likes. Please do not forget to subscribe. Feygin Live and Olexiy Arestovych. You tell us, are we doing the cast on Thursday? No, Thursday we're skipping. We'll do one on Friday. Friday and Saturday. All right. I have to warn our viewers that on Thursday we don't have a cast. We'll have other people. On Friday and Saturday, the usual time, we'll be here. There probably will be a lot of things to discuss, and we'll have new reasons to address new matters. So we'll do that. 42 minutes live. Over 430 people are with us. Let's take a break until Friday. Thank you, Olexiy. Thank you, our viewers, and we'll see each other Friday and continue then. Goodbye.